This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today, we're talking with Andrew Rossington, Chief Product Officer for Teletrac Navman. Andrew, thanks for taking the time to connect with us.
Morning. Nice to meet you. Nice to be here.
Yep. Nope. Good to see you. And I know we had talked earlier. I mean, that's wild. I'm in Ohio. You're in Australia. The magic of technology brings us together. This is very exciting.
It's great, isn't it? A good outcome of COVID, potentially.
Okay. That's right. All right. We are going to jump in and talk about the 3G sunset for the trucking industry. We have talked a lot about this, and I'm sure you have talked a lot about this. In fact, I'm sure you're probably tired of talking about this, but it's important. This is important. If you're one of the fleets out there that has not upgraded your telematics devices, you've pushed the procrastination, I think, to as far as we can push it at this level. Like, we are here. The 3G sunset is upon us. So let's just kick it off there. If there's a fleet, and there's many more than we'd like to admit, that hasn't upgraded to 4G LTE telematics device technology at this point, where are they going to start seeing the consequences of not having done that upgrade?
I think today. I think there's as you said before. I think the curtain is closed, so to speak, and it's over for those. Well, sorry, it's over for those on the AT&T network at this point in time.
Right.
I think there's no backing down for anyone now.
Right.
If you haven't done something, I think you're in trouble immediately.
What kind of functionality? Is this just mean like I just will not see my trucks operate? Like, it's off. I won't see anything. So I'm going to open up my dashboard and just have kind of one of the bleep moments, right?
Yeah, look, great question. I think you did right. You open up your dashboard and the lights will be off, so to speak. So you will lose all communications to that vehicle or that asset or that piece of equipment. So, and I think the important thing is it's not just about which we've talked about in the past. It's not just about the tractor itself. It's about lots of other pieces of equipment that get affected. That transport operators use these days. So, but yes, in answer to your question, the lights will be out, and there will be no visibility. There will be no services of any description from those vehicles or those assets.
Right, and to your point, it varies by network right now. AT&T has put their sunset in place. We know it's coming from Verizon and others, and so for fleet managers, even if you see your trucks and haven't upgraded, you're like, oh well, it's not me. It will be very soon. It will be very, very, very soon. So with that in mind, we know upgrades are important. We also know that they can take a while. It can take some time. So do you have any tips here for us for what's a smooth rollout of new telematics hardware look like, and any tips to make this process just as painless as possible for fleets that are having to do it basically now as the clock strikes midnight?
Yeah, I think it's it's always been about planning, hasn't it? I think the choices for people. Let's think about this. There's two different types of people now. There's the people that have got another arguably 3 months, 4 months to think about this for the people that are closing down mid-year, and then you've got Verizon by the end of the year. So there's still planning time now for those operators that haven't done anything. I think the ones that wake up tomorrow morning, so to speak, though, I think this is down to trying to talk to your telematics operator and see whether they're going to be able to help you, because as you'd imagine, there is hopefully a smaller percentage of operators that are sitting here at the moment who haven't done anything. But yeah, as I mentioned before, I think it's not just restricted to the tractor or the vehicle itself. So I think that's where the surprises are potentially going to come in tomorrow, when suddenly the trailers disappear off the maps, or a sensory based device doing some sort of metering or remote metering or something that will just disappear. And I think that's where some of the surprises are going to come from.
Oh, and that's really interesting too, because even for fleets that may have thought they have upgraded, what you're saying is that maybe they haven't thought of. I mean, you mentioned even the sensory thing, like oil tanks, right? If I got bulk oil tanks and I've got a sensor in there reporting how much oil I have in there, yeah, I guess I wouldn't know until I go to actually check that. It's not like the trucks from there every day. That's an interesting point.
Yeah, and they tend to report in a little less frequently, and or some of them only report in when something occurs. So to some companies, they may be they may not be the most visible thing day to day anyway. So they may have missed them. So we've spent a lot of time as a company going to our customers, trying to talk to them about over the as you can imagine, over the last 12 months, 2 years, but
Yep.
certainly in the last 6 months, and a lot of conversations, particularly about those non-tractor based devices as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's been pretty clear. I mean, you got to roll on the tractor side. You got to roll that into the service bay, or even just site visit wherever you're going to go to update that.
Right.
But how is the process for some of those? I don't know, maybe overlooked assets, the trailers, the bulk containers, that kind of thing. Are there any differences in how you go about rolling out those updates that maybe fleets need to consider versus what they might know on the tractor side?
Yeah, I think so. There's been a lot of technology changes over the past couple of years, and particularly around battery-powered devices as well. So historically, things were very power-oriented, and battery devices weren't very good. So I think what's really changed, if we think about those remote devices, if we think about trailer trackers, trailers these days have got what have they got, 15 plus year lifespans on them, often longer than the the network that's supporting the device. So
Right.
so what we're seeing now is that there is capabilities now to put long life battery based trackers on there. So I guess coming back to your question you asked before, what have people got to do? Well, I think the impact is a bit less for them now. So devices can be shipped out to these customers, in working order and connected very, very quickly, self-installed by the customers themselves to get those trailers or assets back online. I think
Right.
when it comes to the tractor itself, obviously again that's really a planning and talking to your telematics provider to see how quickly they're going to be able to help you.
Right. Right. Well, and even to that that kind of idea, the difference between the assets there and the tractors, of even putting that on a checklist, right? You mentioned trailers, and trailers also
Yes.
tend to sit. And maybe you don't need to
Yep.
pull the trailer right now to update the device, but you definitely need the device on site so that, okay, the next time you go through these trailers, we know that we need this number updated. Go ahead and, put this on the pre-trip trailer inspection so that
Yes.
hey, we
Yes.
know it's going to happen, right?
Yep. And here's the irony. So tomorrow you won't be able to find those trailers. So there's the irony to it all. But
Yes, good point. I want to do
the
that
tracking
before I have no
disappears.
idea where the trailers are.
That's
Man,
right.
the layers of this are terrible, huh? I mean,
That's right.
and how much you take it for granted. I mean, even then considering the tractor side, I mean, we all saw the push to the ELD functionality, and if you have that integrated with your telematics device, well, now you've got a problem because you need to be able to
Correct.
report on your ELDs. I mean, that's
Correct.
mission critical. One quick follow-up there, because you did mention, yeah, I mean, and I know that it's kind of tongue-in-cheek when you say that the trailers can't outlive some of the network, some of the networks that are up, which actually is really pretty true. But I mean, the LTE part, right? I believe that stands for long-term evolution.
Evolutions.
Do you
Yep.
see that being a reality? Like, is this something we're going to have to do still? Again, is LTE also just kind of a LTE for now, or does this have further functionality than, we just went through, gosh, it seems like we just went through 2G not too long ago. Now we're going through 3G. From your view, is LTE a longer life cycle potentially?
Oh, look, I think so. I mean, 3G, I think we probably all forget sometimes. I think 3G was commercially available in about 2002, depending on your carrier and your country, give or take, it was around about that time. So if you think about it, we're in 2022 now. So we've had a pretty good run for 3G.
Yeah, that's true.
4G is, let's call it 2010, 2012 vintage, depending on, again, what country, what carrier. And LTE came after that as, often people will describe it as the iPhone S. So it's
Right.
an iteration rather than a generation on the network. So I think we've got a good life ahead of us on that. And 5G is still very, it's very new, and for most people cost prohibitive for deployment across all of their services. And, we talk about coverage, etc. But I think, as we're seeing literally quarter on quarter, that price is coming down and down and down. But I think we've got a good life ahead of us on 4G. 4G does a lot of what, let's call it, the basic applications need to do. So outside of autonomous vehicles and instant videos and all of those, or instant, telemetry, all those kind of things, 4G does a great job, and I think it'll continue to do so. And it's so well known and understood. And if you think about the price point of it now, it is very, it's very, very low cost. So I think we've probably got a good life ahead of us, probably similar potentially to what we had lifespan of 3G.
Very cool. Yeah, and I mean there's kind of a double-edged sword here, because as much as the at least some of the cliche, which is actually becoming more and more true, of the truck being a rolling cell phone. Well, fleet managers out there, if you had to go back to a 3G phone, you would throw it against the wall and get it fixed immediately, like this.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Indeed. Yep.
So you've alluded to it a little bit here. But just to reiterate, what are some of that functionality that 4G LTE brings to the table? In addition to just knowing where my equipment is and being able to see it again and making sure I'm upgraded, what additional features make these upgrades worth the squeeze here?
Yeah, I think, apart from as we said, the very basics of being able to communicate again, it brings bandwidth and reduced latency, so response times, if you like. It brings that to the table. So if you think about it on a commercial level, apps like your Snapchats and your Ubers and things like that, they became applicable and able to be used in the sort of 2012, 13, 14 timeframes. So it was combining video with kind of real-time mapping and all of those types of things that we expect to get. So it gave us higher bandwidth, and it gave us reduced latency, or as we said, a better response time to that data. So they're the kind of applications, and if you think about those now rolling forward to a transport company in 2022, it's about a lot of those same things, but thinking about it from a transport point of view, it's about turn-by-turn navigation, it's about route guidance, it's about extracting information off the vehicle quickly. So we think about where video telematics is at now, and retrieving footage off vehicles. It's all capable in the 4G model. The masses of data that we actually pull off vehicles now, from their engine management system, as we said, to cameras, to location, to ELD information from the driver, and there's a lot of information. And 4G is allowing us to get that information now and process it, on the back end, using the telematics platforms and newer AI-based tools that are currently coming into play as well.
Right. No, the video telematics. I have to go back though. I loved the Uber example there, because I think it's something that we can all connect with, where you sit there and you just watch. Is the guy going to show you is he there? Say, oh, he's moved around. I can see him. That on the transportation side, being able, it can move the conversation for fleets from where my truck was to where my truck is, right? This is where it is. It's right here. It's a turn, it's one turn away, that kind of thing. But going back to the video, I do have to, first of all, thank you for being on the front lines of the technology that people like me just immediately take for granted instantly, right? To your point, you move those videos around so quickly and analyze them so quickly that, we forget that it necessitates this kind of heavy lifting on the fleet's part to upgrade my device to be able to take advantage of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think, we do take it for granted. And I think, but I like your point about, it's history versus real time. And I think, where are we going next? It's all about predictability that's coming next, isn't it? It's, it's great to look back and see what happened, and it's really good to see now what is happening. And I think the next bit is what's going to happen. And I think that's where the power is going to come from now, not just because of 5G, because of the advancements in telematics generally, and the advancements in AI and those types of, and more processing power that we're going to see. So I think as a sort of an adjunct to that, I was talking to a customer the other day, and they're sort of like, we'll get to this 3G, 4G thing when we need to. And I said, well, there's the obvious thing here. Have you've got drivers running on the ELD program? Oh, yes, we do. Well, what are you going to do about those? Do you run any big customer contracts where you have some, KPIs to deliver to them around service? Do you have customer service tools? They're all going to go. So all of that, both real-time and historical information, is about to disappear from them tomorrow. So I think that's going to be some of the consequences that people are going to see. So, maybe a little bit removed from what you were talking about before, but I think that concept of real-time information, he's going to disappear for some tomorrow.
Well, and I think your point is well taken too, and it relates to what we were talking about here of the breadth of information you're pulling off of off of the assets and using them in such dynamic ways that, again, going back to the I take technology for granted every day. And when it doesn't work, it is just like an immediate problem that needs fixed, and it's the worst when. I mean, even on the basics, I still call my IT director and he still tells me, well, did you restart? Did you try restarting? And I was like, you know what? I should probably do that before I call. I should probably do these kind of things. I should probably upgrade because you don't want those calls on that day too. I'm saying, why is it this work? He's like, well, sir, you didn't do your upgrades. And it's like, oh yeah, I guess that's my fault. So, I mean, the point, reach out, right? That's why I'm glad to connect with you and talk about this. All fleets have to do is just call their providers. You will help walk us through this, right?
Yes. Yeah, look, I think, we talk about tomorrow with, for people who are going to be in trouble when they wake up and see no services. But back to what we said before, I think in terms of, if you've got a telematics provider that has, up-to-date equipment and understands what's going on here, there's probably options to get people by, as we talked about, battery powered type equipment, things like that, which might plug the hole for a month or two whilst the truck goes through a refit of some more permanent equipment, and then deploy those battery devices out to trailers and things like that. So there's certainly paths forward, but it's going to be an exciting day. Some would liken it to the Y2K, the Armageddon-ish kind of things that are going on. I don't think it's quite that bad, by the way.
No, for sure. And then the nice thing is it's completely in our control. I mean, that's also why we're here. It's completely in our control at this point. Fleets just need to reach out. Telematics service providers are ready to help. They want to help. We just have to open those lines of communication. Andrew, I appreciate you opening this line of communication. This has been wonderful. It's been great talking to you. I'm sure I'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.